Hey YouTube, the Z Flip 5 just got released alongside the Z Fold 5. That feels very weird, this Z Flip 5. But anyway, it just got released alongside the Z Fold 5. There are some notable upgrades, but I haven't got the phone with me. I'll just go over some of the upgrades and discuss it a little bit. So let's start with the core spec. So let's start with the core specs. The Z Flip 3, 5, still comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's unfortunate that they couldn't bump it up maybe to 10 or 12. Like that would be nice. But still, the maximum is 8 gigabytes of RAM. The minimum is also 8 gigabytes. So like, there's only one option: 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's got 512 this time. It's got a maximum of 512 gigabytes of storage and a starting base of 256 gigabytes of storage. So there's really no change in terms of the memory part. Like, it's just that 512 addition. There's nothing really much. The screen, however, the inner screen has been upgraded to an LTPO screen, so it can go down to 1 Hz, then up to 120 again, so it can refresh one time per second, then go up and refresh 120 times per second again, just to make it smoother when you're using it. And then let's say you're just reading up work on your phone, whereby your phone doesn't need to refresh that much, then it would go down to 1, maybe 2 Hz, just so it could save battery. Because guess what, the battery is still the same. It's still the same from last year, but maybe that's the new chip, which is it's not new anymore, but it's new to the Z Flip series. The Snapdragon Gen 8 Gen 2 will make a difference in terms of battery life, and Samsung claims it has, but I can't say anything because I haven't had my hands on that phone. But according to Samsung, it does last longer, and it's kind of hard to believe because the chip in the Z Flip 4 was really efficient. Like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus was really efficient. So I don't know if the 8 Gen 2 can keep up with that, but maybe it does last a bit longer, but it's nothing astronomical. So the battery is still 3500 milliamp power. The charging is 25 wired. When you're charging with your cable, it's 25 watts. So there's no groundbreaking tech. The only thing that's like, wow, okay, that's like, okay, is the 512 gigabytes. Because now that I'm recording videos on my phone so much, the 256 I have on the Z Flip 3, it's finished. Like, there's nothing left. Like, I have to store things on my laptop now, even though I'm recording with this phone. So those are just the core specs. Nothing too much. The camera hardware hasn't changed either, so there's nothing too much that's new. The selfie camera is 10 megabytes. The rear camera 10 megabytes, 10 megapixels. The rear camera is 12 megapixels. Both rear cameras, the ultra wide and the wide. The wide is just a normal camera. Both have 12 megapixels. So like, megapixels in 2023 don't really matter at this point. Like, I don't know why Samsung is adding like 200 megapixels. It's cool and stuff, but then like, it practically has no use. People could be like, oh no, it's super detailed, so you can crop into your photos. That's the whole point of the telescope lens. Yeah, but so the core specs, there's nothing crazy about it. It's good, don't get me wrong, it's very good, like, it's up there. But then there's nothing crazy when you compare it to its peers. When you compare it to intanga zazo, it's nothing. It's nothing big. So let's talk about my thoughts about the Z Flip 5. It's getting a bit dark. So let's wrap this up. So let's start with the biggest change, the cover screen. The cover screen has been changed to this funny files app looking thingy. Like I'll put the app I'm talking about. It's the my files app from Samsung. It looks like that now. But anyway, the I'm not too happy about this upgrade because the outside cover screen was meant for like quickly resuming music or quickly using um the rear camera as a mirror, and if you've ever done that before you'd be impressed, and I'm speaking for experience because it is as clear as it's so clear, like you would be surprised, I'm telling you. Like if this was being recorded on the rear camera, it would be way better than this. Like you'd be surprised, and it just keeps you away from distractions. Cause let's say you the OG, I mean, like the cover screen from the Z Flip 4, which is basically the OG because it's just a bit bigger than the OG compared to this one from the Z Flip 5. The cover screen from the Z Flip 4 was just for you to quickly resume your music without getting distracted, because let's say you want to resume your music and you go on your phone, then a WhatsApp message comes in. You might or might not get distracted depending on you, but with the Z Flip 4, Z Flip 3, Z Flip 2, well, there isn't a 2, the Z Flip 5G and the OG one, you just resume your music and continue like nothing happened. Abo. But with this Z Flip 5, they might as well add games to the cover screen because it's really huge, and I don't like that. But it's way better for widgets and stuff. Like it's more functional, and you can line up selfies way better on this one. Like it doesn't give you a headache when you have to line up selfies, because on the Z Flip 3, 4, and the OGs, you'd have to like you'd have to calculate, then come back and crop it, then edit it, then rotate it, because it would be landscape sometimes. It's just really complex. So with this one, I imagine it would be really straightforward. You take the phone, you prop it up, then you take the shot. Like nothing much to it. It's really simple. Yeah, but it, I would say for me, it's not the upgrade but for some other people, it might be the upgrade. The other thing that's been upgraded is the crease, and I'm with this upgrade. It's gapless now. This helps with when you put your flip phone in your pocket, it doesn't collect up the fluff that's in your pocket, so you don't have to give it just a before you start using it, because the inner screen is plastic, so it might, if you have rough stuff in your pocket, rough stuff if you have rough stuff in your pocket, um it will scratch the screen. Yeah, but with the gapless one, it doesn't allow anything in. So I'm with that one, and it folds up to be smaller than this one, because this one is actually would be actually thicker than the Z Flip 5. Like the Z Flip 3, the 4, and the OGs would be actually thicker than the Z Flip 5, just because they have that gap. And the crease hasn't improved according to what I've seen from my research. My research. The crease hasn't improved, but honestly, when I'm using the Z Flip 3, which is 2 generations behind from this one, um, I forgot it has a crease. Like the only time I remember is when I'm in direct sunlight or when I run my finger over it. Yeah, and it's just forgettable. It's like an iPhone. Yeah, but when you don't use the iPhone, the notch is very apparent. Like it might be the first thing you notice about the display is the notch. Yeah, but once you use the phone, it magically disappears. Yeah, the same thing with the Z Flip series. Well, I'm not that sure about the first few ones, but from the 3, and I assume the above, like the 3, 4, and 5, it just disappears. Like, especially when like there's no light at all, then it's just like using a normal phone. Even when it's folded, you could basically like uh, make your phone smaller. Like, I don't know how to explain this. I might put a clip up so you can see. But then when you fold it just a bit, it doesn't distort the picture that much. So you basically have a smaller phone. Wait, this car is making a hell of noise. Okay, it doesn't look like it's passing. You'll just have to bear with me. Um, but oh yeah, it's leaving. But the quiz, the quiz, it, like nothing's improved. But then once you use the phone, you'll see why Samsung didn't choose to improve it. Well, so yeah, those are my thoughts. So in conclusion, the Z Flip 5 hasn't improved very much from the Z Flip 4, except for that big outer screen and the gapless hinge. Those are really the only two improvements. That's not to say that the Z Flip 5 isn't a great flagship. It's still a good flagship. It's up there, like I said. It's comparable to the S23, not the Ultra models, the base models, the S23 and maybe the S23 Plus. Yeah, the S23 Plus, yeah, well, it's comparable to the S23 Plus. Like, it's really not a bad phone. It's just not a major improvement from last year. Yeah, but it's just incremental. Yeah, but now if you had the Z Flip 4 and were thinking to upgrade to the Z Flip 5, I would say Uh, I would say not to, but if the outer screen just wins your heart and you have the money for it, I would say go with it. But then if you're like, if the outer screen isn't that much of a difference for you, I would say stick to the Z Flip 4. Yeah, boy. Like it's still a great phone. This is a great phone too. Like it could play any game. It's just as good as the S23 in terms of taking photos, and just a bit lacking on the video side and how far it can zoom. But then in terms of just taking basic photos and basic videos, it's just as good in my opinion. And in fact, I think that's not an opinion. I think it's very factual, yeah, bro. Um, but yeah, that's the Z Flip 5. If you have any opinions you would love to express, love, that's a strong word. If you have any opinions you would like to express, feel free to express them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Please flip out on the subscribe button. Sure.